Hello, everyone. Ron Gerber with Angel Beat. So glad that Tracy Walker, one of the top technology experts at SUSE, is going to be able to share his expertise with you. Tracy is off gallivanting around the world. He's constantly called by CIOs, CTOs to share with them his expertise on how they should go about modernizing their applications. He's got a wealth of experience within the SUSE organization. As many of you know, they're the leader in Linux, they're the leader in Kubernetes, they're the leader in containers. So their product line by design puts them at the forefront of application strategies. They have a strong philosophy around open source. So as a result, they're also intimately involved with a variety of AI initiatives that are affecting so many organizations. So for the purpose of this discussion, I thought it'd be great if Tracy, if you could share with our audience, what are the questions you're seeing from your customers? Why are they bringing you out? What are the problems they're facing? What are the solutions that SUSE offers? Because I think that'll be incredibly valuable for our audience to hear what their peers are grappling with. And when I say the peers, these are the top people at some of the world's most foremost organizations who have to service hundreds of millions of users, where the speed of light matters because the performance of their applications is literally dependent on how fast electrons can travel across fiber connections around the world. Those are the kind of mission critical, sophisticated application that Tracy deals with. And I'd love to hear what those talks are covering and the value that you can provide to our audience.
Sure, Ron. Yeah, thank you for that. I think that the first thing that comes to mind from a lot of the organizations, customers,
Yeah,
companies that we work with, is they're finding success in their strategies. They've successfully migrated workloads to cloud. They're now using Kubernetes maybe efficiently.
okay.
And so the speed of development has increased. The way that we operate has modernized. And now we're doing it even more at scale, right? The more success we have, the more we're seeing growth, right? And in those environments where I see that kind of maturity happening, you're also seeing that rapid growth, right? They're able to develop lots of different applications and they have lots of pipelines and multiple development teams, all that can kind of synchronize in delivering software. Software is truly eating the world. I think that also some of the questions that we're hearing from them are moving toward like, what are you guys doing with AI? Like how are you seeing AI helping us? People are already starting to use it for
Sure.
the pattern dominant type use cases like writing code, identifying images on video and all, these kind of use cases. So I think a lot of that type of work, because it is computational, I think we're going to see a lot faster innovation around software and writing code and automation around that. And so again, we're now adding more fuel to this fire of lots of workloads, software development, all of these kind of things. So it's a
So it's
very exciting
interesting.
time.
I bet when you talk about AI and the ability to create more code, we know it's always a challenge to hire developers. Now they're going to, organizations may just get an account on ChatGPT or Claude or whatever to create codes. The flip side of that, which I think is the unintended consequence, is suddenly you've got more applications out there, you've got more complexity, and how do you manage that? And that's where we've seen that, you and I both seen it with so many SUSE open source do-it-yourself customers as they start off using some Linux and Kubernetes to do it themselves. And now they might be thinking, many of you may think, well, okay, I'll just write my code on ChatGPT. But what
Mhm.
you're missing is the whole complexity, the management side to this. How do you go about if you're a large organization dealing with multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, data locality, compliance, et cetera?
Absolutely. I was just going to say, if you really want to automate writing spaghetti code, now we have it, right?
Yeah,
I think you're right. And I think there will be, I don't know if it'll be as much jobs lost to it. I mean, I'm sure there will be, no question. But I also, having seen these kind of patterns before, I know there's a lot of adoption early, and then the reality of what you can really use it for and trust it for, and then how you're going to maintain that, right? Can it also maintain the code that it wrote? and change it as needed and patch, vulnerabilities and all of these kind of things. So there is a lot there that easily automated and, little components and strung together into supply chains and, CI/CD pipelines and all of this kind of thing. But as I have seen and know, it also, you have engineers who are able to string those things together. Yes, I think AI will help out make a lot of that much easier, but I think you will always still need to have somebody sitting in the cockpit just in case, because, usually you have to do some troubleshooting with the
Right.
and QA and all these kind of things. And so I think there will be shifts. But I also think a lot of this stuff is cyclical as well. We'll have some, unbelievable efficiencies in some areas, wider adoption, more people using technology, and with that scale, there will probably still be a need for more programmers and people who can, train the AI and things like that.
Yeah, I think what you're going to find, and we've seen that a lot with the infrastructure side of the world of IT, people are now no longer racking and stacking servers so much. If you look at desktops, like 10 to 12 years ago, people used to walk around to desktops in an office, make sure everything's updated. All the desktop endpoints are all automated in terms of the software updates.
Mm-hmm.
Racking and stacking of servers, I mean, obviously it still happens, but more and more of that is done within Microsoft, AWS, and Google data centers.
Right,
So I
right.
think
But
what
I
you're
have
finding,
even been seeing recently companies who are purchasing massive servers to run in their own data centers to have their own private cloud where they
that's right.
can control all of those things. So it
It go,
always seems to come back, and it's
yeah.
cyclical.
But I mean, when you talk about, this evolution and, AI generating custom code, maybe you're going to have like a microservices architecture. There could be little buckets where AI could generate one of those microservices. So it's not a big monolithic programming architecture. You see it evolving.
Absolutely.
But what's going to happen is you're going to need someone who's smart, who may not necessarily write every line of code, but is going to say, okay, this is fine, but how do I figure out that everything's compatible, meets our standards? You can't let AI replace a structured DevOps protocol and system of checks and balances in QA. I just can't foresee it happen. I would imagine that's a key thing that you're seeing with your organizations, in that there's such a tremendous need for the services and the reliability that SUSE provides them. Is that?
Oh, absolutely. Especially right now. I mean, we're still at the very early, very, very, very beginning phases of companies leveraging. There is some mass kind of, what is this investigation? SUSE, I have seen, even is also using some AI internally on some projects
Sure.
to improve our support, improve how our customers, Rancher Prime, New Vector Prime, are able to use the products. So yeah, I know. I mean, I'm sure that's going on in other companies as well, and that will shake out into products or offerings, But so I think that there's a lot of just kind of experimentation, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't, and where those shifts will come. I think we're probably already seeing a little bit of that, but even every time there's one of these shifts, there's also
Yeah.
these gaps that are created where, well, now you need, first we needed people to build TVs and then repair TVs, and then and now nobody has TVs anymore, and
Yeah.
so
Well,
it's
in any case, whether or not it's human programmers or AI, most of the applications are going to be running container workloads in the cloud based on
exactly,
Kubernetes. Is that a fair statement?
absolutely, oh, for
So,
sure,
maybe you describe a little bit how SUSE is positioned to succeed, because you can just see this exponential growth in applications, that exponential growth rate then continues to grow exponentially, like the side of a building. And that's going to place a tremendous value and need for maybe you could talk a little bit about services like New Vector, container, Kubernetes management, and just as importantly, securing those microservices or container workloads.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what you're seeing is, because of that scale and because how software is eating the world, we needed a standardized way to run workloads because we do want to run them in the cloud or on-prem or move them from place to place. So the evolution of how we develop these applications, how we, run them, manage them, operate them, update them, secure them, all of these paradigms are kind of have been solidifying, and the products, the projects Rancher, New Vector, and the products Rancher Prime, New Vector Prime, and all the support that SUSE provides around those are suited exactly for that, right? No lock-in, able to run Rancher anywhere. Can you run New Vector anywhere, any cloud, and even in, other operational platforms like OpenShift or whatever. So SUSE's philosophy around openness and no vendor lock-in, plus adding value, if you're using, these are pretty deep products. Rancher is a significant orchestrator. New Vector adds 8 layers of security. Yes, it's open source software, but we provide services and support and break fix and triage
Sure.
incidents and things like that, and of course the services and training and everything else that comes with it. Um so SUSE's model is really in line with the adoption of these technologies to run things at scale, because that is what's kind of happening,
Yeah.
and the AI is going to add fuel to that
Yeah.
scale. We're going to see consumption and everything that I don't know that we've ever seen before, which every day is probably more than we've ever seen before.
That's right. Are you seeing a lot of organizations, your customers, come to SUSE because they want that flexibility, maybe switch a workload from AWS to GCP, maybe because of
Absolutely.
cost considerations, maybe there's an acquisition, whatever it might be? Isn't it
Absolutely.
playing so perfectly to all your strengths because it's seamless and it's not a big deal? Is it literally as easy as that?
These are open source tools, right? They start out as anybody can use them, learn about them, scale their, update their skill set, if you will.
Yeah,
So it is because a lot of times companies are kind of wanting to experiment how they're going to accomplish this anyway. If they're trying to decompose a monolith application and break it into services,
yeah,
you got to start somewhere, right? And you start running these things. It's easy to adopt these, an orchestrator like Rancher
yeah,
or security tool like New Vector. That's the benefit, that they're easy, they're Kubernetes native,
sure.
they're made exactly for these new environments that everybody's kind of moving toward and migrating to. So, so yeah, it's a really, I think it's an exciting place to be in right now, especially being there with mature products that help companies do this, at a time when companies are going to be doing this even more faster
Yeah,
because of their ability to use AI to speed up kind of the raw coding and configuration that they're doing manually today.
got it. So you probably have a couple of different or two main initiatives. You've got, putting aside AI for the moment, there's the general, very rapid demand to push apps workloads from on-prem to the cloud, which is a key driver of your growth. Those are complicated applications that you need the right platform to succeed and be flexible on. And obviously, SUSE provides a great tool to ensure that that goes securely. And again,
And
that's
consistently, exactly, or even cloud to cloud,
yeah, whatever it
exactly
might
to your
be.
point,
And
exactly.
then you've got the second driver, which is a whole new set of AI powered apps and software and workloads that everyone's going to start creating and writing. And so I think what you can easily foresee, I'll tell you, like there's a story about the cloud where when it first came out, and a good reason why you need to have the appropriate guardrails and partners in configuring all this, and experts like SUSE to guide you. There was someone at a major healthcare company, they set up a new cloud account, and there are two downsides. So someone in the patient data analysis team at a large hospital and all this data. They're trying to figure out, well, what's the effectiveness of this treatment, or do we have the right workloads? Just trying to look at data and figure out the right way to ensure that patients get the best care. All good. And then he said, "Oh, we've got an account at AWS. Oh, this is great." So he had all the data up in the cloud, and he started running reports. And remind you, like, AWS does not give you like a running meter on the side of your workloads telling you how much all this is costing. And literally at the end of this month, he had
Very true.
two major problems. First, he violated HIPAA laws by letting the data go out into the cloud. A second problem was that's consistent with that data then gets automatically backed up. He wasn't aware it was getting backed up in Europe at another non-US data center, which again made sense. Big US healthcare provider. For disaster recovery, you want to have some geographical separation between your primary data. So they just did it offshore. No one thought it was a big deal. So he gets a double whammy of HIPAA violation, GDPR, and then to top it off, he gets this huge bill because he didn't know, like, well, this is the cloud. Isn't this like free or something? And so, when you think about this new rapidly changing world, why SUSE is so well positioned for organizations is you need to go into this with the right guardrails, the right architecture. And if you are a do-it-yourself open source person, great. But when you get into levels of complexity and you look at the downside of violating one of your compliance rules, it's going to eat up any of those savings in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. I mean, I always have this vision in my head that, yeah, anyone can climb up the side of, scale the side of a mountain like a rock climber without ropes, right? But, not everybody should. And that kind of goes for security and these kind of applications. I think one of the scariest things someone has ever said to me is, AI is going to make everyone a developer. And yeah, that scares me to death because I've seen some of the code some of these developers write, and so that just scares me to death. So yeah, so there's going to be a lot more that is going to have to be secured and handled and reviewed and corrected to some degree or whatever. So I think that AI will help us a lot in a lot of these environments. Yes, and SUSE is definitely positioned to help with that, and because we're seeing that kind of growth in those areas, so I know it's happening.
Yeah. I mean, I think the key takeaway is as you go visiting these clients and now sharing this, you've got the AI revolution is just this great storm, this surge of activity that makes the need for application management platforms, application securities, because all that AI is from a content creation, software coding standpoint, it's this great tool that lets, as you said, citizen developers, you've got software eating the world, controlling the world.
Yes.
And it's, I think, that's probably the key takeaway in your themes when you talk with your CTOs at multi-bazillion-dollar organizations. You're telling them, look, you need to do this, but you need to set up the right guardrails, protocols on day one, so there are no unintended consequences from these initiatives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. I mean, it does remind me a bit of the early .com days, and even in recent years, data lakes, and when there's a new approach to technology or a new tool, you're absolutely right. AI is just another tool. It's a very, very powerful tool, but it is still a tool.
Yep.
And so like before, there will be kind of mass adoption and innovation and trying things out and things like that. And then there'll probably be a little bit of a retraction once things kind of shake out and,
Yep.
the next AI tool or whatever comes out of
Whatever
that.
it is.
Exactly.
So again, we appreciate Tracy taking a little bit of time to share with us his expertise here. I think the key takeaway is in this application-centric world, you need to take full advantage of all these tools out there. 10, 12 years ago, it's virtualization, then it was cloud, then you've got data lakes and data warehouses replacing databases, and there's constant change in this. But I
Exactly.
think the one commonality that Tracy is alluding to is that just the raw number of applications is skyrocketing. The risk of having misconfigured applications from a security, from a compliance, from a cost standpoint, then becomes astronomical. And I'm sure the key thing you say to CTOs around the world and to the Angel Bee community is just make sure you're doing this pretty smart and you've got the right platform, because you do not want to get caught off guard in letting these great ideas go off the rails, and they can go off the rails pretty quickly.
Exactly. Yeah. You're going to have to kind of continue to do the things you're doing with security, with orchestration at scale. And that's exactly where SUSE, Rancher Prime and New Vector come in.
It is. And I think the key thing for all of you out there, when you're looking at your own personal career, your job title, your job responsibilities, as I think you alluded to earlier, Tracy, it's going to change, but I think it can actually change for the better, and that your role becomes one more of what I call a strategic architect, trying to manage different vendors and pull everything together to be efficient. I cannot imagine any reduction in IT headcount as we've got all this software happening, but I can easily foresee a change in responsibilities where instead of a lot of very detailed coding, you're going to have people doing things like, well, I need to make sure that this generative AI microservices component is secure and compliant. I need to see how this fits in. I need to make sure that now we have 5,000 applications before I was worrying about 50 or 500, and you need to have tools to make yourself valuable. And quite honestly, once you get the hang of using capabilities like the SUSE platform, which covers containers, Kubernetes, Linux, et cetera, you're going to be promoted, because, the people who are going to succeed are the ones not so much who are really good coders, still an important skill, undoubtedly, but the people who can understand this rapidly changing world and can figure out what needs custom personalized development, what can be done in an automated fashion, and what are the right platforms from a security, compliance, and cost standpoint. And that's pretty much the SUSE roadmap.
That's it. Couldn't have said it better
And so,
myself.
if we cancel Angel Beat, I will be Tracy's spokesperson when we go on the road in articulating the value of SUSE to the Angel Beat community and other IT end users.
I would love that.
I will do it. Well, great. Well, thanks so much, Tracy. I wish you successful journeys with all your customers. And I encourage everyone out there, you can go to SUSE.com, you go to angelbeat.com. You really need to talk to the team at SUSE, because applications are probably changing as quickly and as rapidly as they ever have been. There are other things going on, like people worried about their CI/CD pipeline. There's DevOps, then there's DevSecOps, and there's Cloud Ops and all these different things. But I think when you layer on top Gen AI and a greater incentive to move more sophisticated workloads, like we just did a webinar last week about mainframe and Oracle migration. The need for application management platforms is going to be one of the dominant technologies, and you should definitely talk to Tracy. All right. Anything else, Tracy? I think
No.
we're all good here.
Thanks, Ron.
All right. Thank you very much.
Good seeing you.